Welcome to BIS Talks on Management Systems Department. A management system is a way in which an organization manages the interrelated parts of its business in order to achieve its objectives. These objectives can relate to a number of different topics, including product or service quality, operational efficiency, environmental performance, health and safety in the workplace, and many more. BIS has constituted Management System Division Council in 1991, and there are 13 sectional committees under Management System Division Council. Now let's hear in more detail what type of standards are being prepared by this council from Head of the Department, Ms. Snehalata.
More than 400 standards have been published under Management System Division Council. The standards prepared by this Division Council are generic in nature and are applicable to all sectors, be it manufacturing sector or service sector or laboratories or academic institutes. The first ever published and very basic Indian standard is IS2, Rules for Rounding of Numerical Values, which is used by everyone knowingly or unknowingly. It is an essential requirement for product and test method standards. There are standards on sampling techniques. Again, we are using it day in and day out activities and taking decisions based on the sample tests. There are standards on controlling the processes during production to minimize the rejections. First, our management system standard on quality management is also under this Division Council. There are many more management system standards prepared by this council, which includes asset management, facility management, human resource management, knowledge management, and recently in the series is innovation management. Essential component of all these management standards is risk management, which is also under this Division Council. Another important factor is measurement of customer satisfaction, and complaints handling is one of the important aspects of customer satisfaction. There is a standard on the same. Social responsibility is one of the most important features of our sustainable development. So there are standards on social accountability, anti-bribery and good governance, which can be used by any type of organizations. All management system standards are harmonized with international standards. So to have India's viewpoint on international standard, it is very essential to actively participate in development of international standards from the beginning itself. Experts under MSDC are effectively contributing in international standardization also.
Quality management. One of the foundational committees in the field of management systems is Quality Management Sectional Committee, which deals with standardization in the field of generic quality management system, including quality assurance, quality systems, quality manuals, guides, etc. The primary focus of this committee is to formulate Indian standards to get consistent, good quality products and services, which meets customer requirements, and to strive to exceed customer expectations, and in turn bring many business benefits. Quality management standard implementation is a strategic decision for an organization that can help to improve its overall performance and provide a sound basis for sustainable development initiatives.
Quality management system is not only recognized internationally as the world's most widely adopted management system, but also has proved to be a powerful business improvement tool. Quality management system has been designed to help organization to improve its efficiency by ensuring product quality and customer satisfaction. QMS employs the process approach which incorporates PDCA cycle, that is plan, do, check, act, and risk-based thinking. PDCA cycle enable an organization to ensure that its processes are adequately resourced and managed, and that opportunities for improvement are determined and acted on. Whereas risk-based thinking enable an organization to put in place preventive checks to minimize negative effects and to maximize use of opportunities as they arise. Broadly, quality management system focuses on context of organization, leadership commitment, stakeholder engagement, quality policy, quality objectives, action to address risks and opportunities, and other requirements such as design and development of product and services, control of externally provided products and services. Thereafter, periodically reviewing the system for performance evaluation and taking actions for eliminating non-conformities and eventually contributing towards continual improvement of a system.
Indeed, the impact of ISO 9001 on Indian industry is multifold. Shri Anupam Kaul, who is the chairman of this section committee, has expressed it so well.
Some of the most critical standards that has been brought out internationally, for example, the ISO 9001 standards on quality management, were the forerunners of the quality movement in India right from the late 1980s and then through 90s and 2000 onwards. And they have been mainly instrumental in making the Indian industry understand quality both at the leadership level, also at the operational level. And that has really transformed many segments of the Indian industry. If I can add the automotive sector, the pharma sector, the IT sector, many of these sectors that have done so well in terms of economics, in terms of growth, in terms of export of services and products, it is mainly because of the standards that have been applied in the industry on quality management.
Another very vital and successful certifiable indigenous standard developed by the committee is IS 15700, Quality Management Systems for Public Services. This standard is developed to improve the services provided to citizens of India.
Service is the outcome of activities performed at the interface between the organization and the customer. Public service is the service provided by the government to its citizens. IS 15700 lays down quality management performance requirements for public service organizations with focus on service quality, public grievance redressal, and citizen interface. This standard focuses on three key elements. First, identification of services being provided, service delivery processes, their control and delivery requirements. Second is formulation of realistic citizen charter through a consultative process involving all stakeholders, which gives time norms for service delivery. And third, an effective complaint handling process, which shall have an appeal mechanism also in case customer is not satisfied with the redressal. The complaint handling process does not cover employee-related disputes.
Now, after implementing management standards and ensuring that quality is achieved, another important aspect is measurement of customer satisfaction.
IS 16677 is a certifiable standard which can be useful tool for improving complaint handling mechanism in any organization. The implementation of this standard is devised to facilitate a uniform approach towards open and responsive complaint handling mechanism in a consistent, systematic and responsive manner. This standard further provides opportunity to organization for enhancing its accountability towards continual improvement of its product and services. This standard defines the documentation requirement for efficient complaint handling mechanism and also delineates management responsibility for improving the effectiveness of complaint handling mechanism by way of resource allocation, along with various other checks and control in form of internal audits and management review. This standard details out various steps involved in complaint handling process, such as wide publicity of complaint handling mechanism, time norms to be followed for redressal of complaint, contact details of the person who should be contacted in event of complaint, and more. This standard outlines various steps involved in complaint handling mechanism like allocation of unique identification number to complaint, acknowledgement of complaint, investigation of complaint, due redressal of complaint based on nature, severity and outcome of investigation of complaint, communication and feedback from the complainant, appeal mechanism in case the complainant is not satisfied with the outcome of investigation, and closure of complaint. With implementation of this standard, organization can monitor and analyze the recurring complaints to eliminate underlying reasons of the complaint and can improvise their services and system towards continual improvement.
Management and productivity. Every organization, irrespective of their size and capital, struggle to manage all its work. Though the focus has been shifted towards the efficient and creative workforce in every organization, but still a proper planning and implementation is the key. One of the most important standards is ISO 21502 Project Management. This standard is applicable to any organization, including public, private, and charitable, as well as to any type of project, regardless of purpose, delivery approaches, life cycle model used, complexity, size, cost, or duration. Let's hear in detail about this standard from our expert, Mr. V.D. Sonar.
This newly released standard replaces its previous version ISO 21500-2012 and aims to bring more clarity on various concepts of project management, information on how the project outcome can deliver the benefits to the organizations, and considerations of the organizational context of the projects, as well as the description of additional roles and responsibility in project management. It also has some newly added concepts sections such as creating the project environment, project life cycle, decision gates and decision points, and additional project practices such as benefit management and change control. This is to reflect the current trend and practices in project management. I firmly believe that this new international standard will guide the professionals and organizations across the globe.
Brands are one of the most valuable yet least understood assets. A brand identifies an entity's goods, services, or the entity's itself as distinct from what is offered by another entity. A brand can thus be connected to an entity, a product or service, line portfolios of products, a city, a region, etc. To create a brand image, there is a need to evaluate the brands. Let's hear in detail about this standard from our expert, Mr. Ved Prakash.
What they think of a brand, what they liked about, and where they want improvements in brands. Such conversation insights or willing to express their perception of a brand have exponentially increased over the years. And it really helps in reshaping the brand's offerings and strengthening customer engagement. Here comes the need for developing and reviewing ISO standards on brand evaluation and brand valuation. Brand evaluation that focuses on measurement of the value of a brand using relevant indicators of input, that is, brand development elements and output dimensions that assess the impact of a brand on consumers. Whereas brand valuation focuses on estimation of the monetary value of a company.
Sustainable finance. Economic growth has created unprecedented prosperity for many, but it has come at a high price. Climate change, inequality, and severely depleted natural resources. According to WWF, the world's leading independent conservation organization, if we are to tackle these issues successfully, huge amounts of capital needs to be shifted to more sustainable, low-carbon sectors. And besides this, we need to consider the integration of sustainability into financial decision-making, services and products. Technical Committee MSD 18 of BIS aims to foster a sustainable environment market through the development of new Indian standards. Our aim is to mainstream sustainable finance and to make it more accessible and more effective for the industry and investors. Let us hear some more about the future of sustainable finance from our expert from IIT Delhi, Professor Shweta Singh.
The financial services sector has a critical role to play in the allocation, distribution, and investment of capital towards sustainable activities, mitigating negative impacts and risks, and at the same time, better aligning with the needs of wider stakeholders. On the demand side, asset owners, asset managers, and retail investors are increasingly looking for sustainable investment opportunities whilst avoiding risk, driven by increasing awareness and understanding of both positive and negative impacts of environmental, social, economic, and governance issues. Keeping this in view, there is a need for global standards which provides guidance on principles, practices, and terminologies. It is intended to support financial services organizations wanting to integrate sustainability principles into their investment and management practices, or to facilitate the financing and development of new asset classes.
Resource management. Resource management is not a new practice. Managing resources to meet organizational or social objectives has existed since humans first began building infrastructures, whether public or private. Some of the most important standards published by BIS on resource management are: with increasing investments both by industry and government, considerable inflation in the cost of materials, labor, energy, etc., decisions based on initial costs alone have often proved to be counterproductive and uneconomical. In particular, where public money is involved, it becomes necessary to ensure the maximum benefits out of every investment. In this situation, a systematic methodology of assessing the total cost of an asset or proposed investment over its entire operational life becomes essential. Life cycle costing (LCC) is a method to arrive at such an economic and equitable assessment.
Life cycle cost is an approach that assesses the total cost of an asset over its life cycle, including initial capital cost, maintenance cost, operating cost, and the asset's residual value at the end of its life. Indian standard IS 13174 on life cycle costing consists of two parts. Part 1 is the terminology, which defines all the terms used in the standard, and Part 2 is the methodology part, which calculates the life cycle cost of different assets using multiple methods. The two methods described in the standard are both equally applicable and may be followed for calculating life cycle cost. One method, known as present worth method, which converts all the future cost to the present values. The other method, known as annualized cost method, which amortizes all cost over the life of the item or project. To get the value addition of this standard in real world, let's take example of type of doors and its three alternatives. Alternative 1, teak wood frame and shutters. Alternative 2, Devdar wood frame and shutters. And alternative 3, steel door frame with plywood paneling. Now, using data from building industry as shown in the table 1 and methods given in the standard, we can calculate the life cycle cost of each alternative and select the best one accordingly. Now see the calculation table again for life cycle cost of each alternative calculated using present worth method, and we can clearly see that alternative 3, that is steel door frame with plywood paneling, is having the lowest life cycle cost. Thus it is more cost advantageous compared to the rest two alternatives. Thus, using the two methods, present worth method and annualized cost method given in the standard, we can compare all the alternatives for a common application, and we can find out the most economic alternative with the help of life cycle cost criteria.
Recently, when offices were opened after lockdown due to COVID-19, there were many conditions imposed by government to prevent the spread of disease. Considering the need of the hour, BIS has developed an Indian standard guidelines for safe working of organizations during COVID-19 pandemic. Let's hear more from Chairman of this committee, Mr. V.K. Jain.
This standard intends to help management of the organization to provide a safer environment for employees too. By implementing this standard, an organization A has identified risk associated with COVID-19 that may impact various stakeholders and is establishing a process to mitigate the risks and demonstrate the measures to contain the possible disruptions. B has identified the roles and responsibilities of both the management and the employees. C is adapting to the changing situation for ensuring business continuity. This standard adopts the process approach methodology known as plan, do, check and act, PDCA.
Human Resource Sectional Committee. Managing humans and their knowledge is one of the most important aspects of any organization, especially in the present scenario where organizations were closed and emphasis was on work from home. it becomes more important to manage all workforce. BIS has formulated many Indian standards for human resources, which aims to help HR departments improve their performance and ultimately improve the performance of the organization in which they work. Let us hear from our expert of this committee, Mr. B. Dhal.
Human capital is an important differentiator for competitive advantage for all organizations. Talent acquisition and retention are key HR functions and critical for organization success. IS SIO 3045 Human Resource Management Guidelines for Recruitment explains the basic objective to help organizations to focus and deliver on recruitment performance. It provides guidance on how to attract, source, assess and recruit people and focuses on key processes and practices.
Social responsibility. Social responsibility is the area which is very vital for socio-economic conditions of society and sustainable development of planet. Social Responsibility Sectional Committee formulates standards in the field of social responsibility, social accountability and other social issues. One of such forerunner standards aiming to curb social evil like bribery is Anti-Bribery Management System, IS ISO 37001-2016.
IS ISO 37001 is a certifiable management system standard on anti-bribery. This standard aims to prevent, detect and respond to bribery and to assist organizations to establish, implement and maintain, improve their anti-bribery measures and control to represent global anti-bribery good practices. This standard outlines various salient features for improving an efficient and effective anti-bribery management system. Firstly, the organization needs to define their context in terms of business associate and define its anti-bribery management system. Under leadership commitment, organization should define various roles, responsibility, establish its own anti-bribery policy and appoint an independent anti-bribery compliance function to oversee anti-bribery program. Most important feature of this management system is organization should plan their anti-bribery objectives and undergo regular bribery risk assessment for every activity to which organization is exposed and plan actions to address various risks which are posing more than low bribery risk. This standard also encompasses various operational controls such as due diligence, financial control, non-financial controls, anti-bribery commitment, anti-bribery controls, gift hospitality policy and managing inadequacy of checks if any, investigation of bribery cases and so on and so forth. It also outlines various internal external checks for assessing and evaluating anti-bribery performance by way of internal audit, top management review, compliance audit function and further investigating and taking suitable corrective action toward continual improvement of ABMS.
Another area being focused by this committee is corporate social responsibility. Let's hear in detail from Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee, who is steering this committee at national and international level.
India is the only country in the entire world which has a legislation on corporate social responsibility. And we are the first again on the entire planet to have evolved a standard for CSR and also a certification program. We are hoping to roll this out in the very near future, and this will be another very big feather in the cap of the BIS.
Indeed, this certifiable Indian standard on CSR requirement is the need of the hour. Let's know some more basic requirements of the CSR requirement. IS 26001-2020.
IS 26001 is a certified standard on corporate social responsibility which is formulated in alignment with Companies Act 2013, wherein the law states that few topmost companies beyond certain criteria are mandated to contribute 2% of their average net profits toward CSR activities. However, in absence of robust CSR framework and lack of impact assessment, the main intention of legislation and the real purpose of CSR was unexploited. In this standard, Various parameters and indicators have been defined to assist organizations in developing a strong CSR governance model by delineating CSR policy, identifying appropriate need-based CSR projects, planning and implementing and monitoring identified CSR activities, and further evaluating the outcome of CSR activities in terms of real-time impact and impact per spend, and lastly, reporting the outcome of implemented CSR activities. This standard facilitates organizations to attain star rating certification up to 5-star rating from BIS based on various measurable indicators such as number of CSR projects undertaken, number of beneficiaries, amount of CSR spent, documentation, and need-based CSR assessment undertaken, external evaluation of CSR alignment with SDGs, innovation and contribution towards society, and so on and so forth.
As companies are extensively implementing their corporate social responsibility activities across India, there is an immediate necessity to uniformly assess their CSR performance, especially in terms of implementation, reporting, and real-time impact, for which BIS has formulated series of assurance engagement standards. Let's hear from expert Shri Rajiv Debnath, who has drafted these standards.
And the requirement standard addresses a quality control system which a company needs to establish before it conducts an external or an internal audit. It also speaks about the methodology of how to conduct an audit. Next is Part 2. Part 2 is incidentally a guidance standard. It helps the auditor as well as the auditing firm to understand what could be the threats or risks which they could be subjected to when they are conducting an audit, and also facilitates an auditing firm to develop a quality control system. Part 3 is again a requirement standard. It speaks about the competence that an auditor and auditing firm should have to be able to qualify as an auditor. Such auditors and auditing firms will be empaneled by Bureau of Indian Standard and will make them eligible for conducting internal assurance or maybe external assurance engagements.
Another pioneer standard formulated encompassing safeguarding interests of workers at workplace is social accountability at workplace, IS 16001 2012.
Indian standard IS 16001 Social Accountability at Workplace is a certifiable standard which aims to promote workers' rights and enable organizations to sustainably implement system-based approach to promote social accountability at workplace by ensuring decent and ethical working conditions for its employees. It is based on the belief that ensuring workers' rights and well-being is not a burden for employer, but an investment in human resource that will eventually lead to healthy and sustainable workplace for all. The implementation of IS 16001 aims to promote good practices at workplace which go beyond mere legal compliance by enhancing employee satisfaction and improving working environment within its sphere of influence. This standard identifies 11 core elements such as child labor, employment freely chosen, health and safety at workplace, harassment, abuse, inhuman treatment, discrimination, employment relationship, employee welfare measures, working hours, wages and benefit, freedom of association and community engagement. These core elements are specific to Indian conditions and complement various labor laws and other applicable acts that help in securing ethical working conditions for laborers and empower them with a sustainable livelihood and employment.
Statistical methods for quality and reliability. Use of statistics in business is the backbone of decision-making process. Checking the quality of output not only at the end but during process is also very important. There are standards for process control, process capability, performance evaluation of processes. For any organization, whether it's manufacturing or service, there is a need to check whether we are meeting the requirements. For verifying the requirements, it may not be always practical to check each and everything. So for assessment, there is a need to know how much to assess, where to assess, and what should be the criteria of acceptance. Answer to all these is standards on sampling plans. there are different standards for attribute and variable type of data. One of the most important standards which is in use is IS 2500. Let's hear how this standard can be used from Mrs. Snehlata.
Today we are discussing about IS 2500 Part 1, which is sample inspection plans for attributes indexed by AQL. Attributes is the type of data where we have only two outcomes, whether it is passing or failing. And AQL is acceptable quality level. Acceptable quality level is the percentage defective in the lot which are considered as acceptable. Then these standards gives sampling plans. Sampling plans means sample size and criteria for acceptance of the lot based on the sample results. In this standard, table 1 gives the code sample size code letter which is based on the inspection level and the lot size. After getting that code letter, we move to table 2A or table 2B. Table 2A is for single sampling plans and table 2B is for double sampling plan. In table 2A, with the code letter, we get the sample size. Based on the sample size, and the acceptance criteria is based on the acceptance number. Acceptance number is taken by the acceptable quality level or AQL, which is in percentage defectives, that is to be decided based on the criticality of the requirements. We get the number A if the number of samples found defective in the sample is less than or equal to A, we accept the sample, otherwise we reject the sample.
Other important area is reliability of test results by testing laboratories. This can be done by comparing the test results of different laboratories on the same product or products prepared under similar conditions. ISO 13528 on inter-laboratory comparisons help us in this. Let us hear from Dr. N. Venkateshwaran, Director NABL.
So NABL does 5 types of accreditation program. One for testing laboratories where IS standard 17025 is followed. Same way for calibration laboratories, same ISO, IEC 17025 standard is followed. Then medical laboratories accreditation, ISO 15189 standard is being followed. For this proficiency testing provider, where we follow the main standard ISO 17043, and this is the supplementary standard IS 13528, which is the statistical standards which gives the analysis of statistics how it has to be done by the PT providers. The statistical methods, whatever the standards are being published, like IS 13528, which is predominantly used in finding out the differences in results between the laboratories. Say for example, a laboratory gives a result. Another laboratory also tests the same sample and gives a result. Like that, many number of samples or many number of results are being given by different laboratories. Now, how will we find out what is the true value onto that? So the standard helps in preparing or finding out the differences between the labs and telling them that yes, this is the result what is correct, so that the labs improve upon based on the consensus value what is being received.
Risk management, security and resilience. In this fast evolving environment, it's important to have robust risk management process in place. The Committee on Risk Management, Security and Resilience develops family of Indian standards in the field of risk management and security and resilience to support organizations in all their activities, including decision making, to manage and minimize the effects of accidents, disasters and pandemics in technical systems and services, as well as response and recovery from major disruptive risks. Risk management, therefore, is just as vital in cyberspace as it is in the physical world. Let's hear in detail about one of vital standards, ISO 31000 on risk management from Ms. Snehlata.
All organizations face internal and external factors that make it uncertain whether and when they will achieve their objectives. The effect of this uncertainty on an organization's objectives is risk. Risk could be positive or negative. ISO 31000 provides guidelines on managing risk by providing a common approach to manage any type of risk. It can be used throughout the life of the organization and can be applied to any activity. This standard provides principles, framework and processes for risk management. Principles are Risk management should be integral part of all activities of the organization, structured and comprehensive, customized based on external and internal factors, appropriately and timely involves all stakeholders, dynamic to manage changes, decisions based on best available information, human and cultural factors should be kept in mind, and continual improvement. Framework for risk management includes integration, design, implementation, evaluation, and improvement through leadership commitment. This is the only standard which says assign accountability also along with the responsibility and authority. Risk management processes involves systematic application of policies, procedures, and practices to the activities of communicating and consulting, establishing the context and assessing, treating, monitoring, reviewing, recording, and reporting risks.
Another outcome of risk management is continuity of business and services. Various standards on business continuity ensures to safeguard this aspect in businesses. Let's hear from Mr. Vedyanathan.
The solution lies in aligning with the ISO 22301, the security and the resilience business continuity management system standard that specifies to plan, establish, implement, operate, monitor, review, maintain, and continually improve a documented management system to protect against any impact by reducing the likelihood of occurrence and respond and recover from any disruptive incidents should the risk control fails. Like any other management system standard, the ISO 22301 also follows the Deming cycle of plan, do, check, and act, with a special focus on risk assessment and management of resources, specifically from an availability perspective to deliver the product and services. Business impact analysis to identify and prioritize the critical activities, including the supply chain, having in mind the legal, regulatory, and the contractual obligations. Crisis and incident communications, which is very vital during emergencies. The plan for that, a strategy for that, and a procedure to manage the incident and continue the operations is very vital.
Documentation and information. By virtue of its power to weaken or strengthen any system, documentation becomes inevitable part of any system. Documentation and Information Sectional Committee deals with standardization of practices relating to libraries, documentation and information centers, indexing and abstracting services, bibliographic formats, conservation and preservation of print and non-print medium, archives, data processing and aspects relevant to processing and handling of documents. Let's hear how this technology can be used to convert normal books into talking books for the benefit of society at large.
Indian standard approved and used by Bureau of Indian Standards in India as ISO 17316. The standard gives access to ISLI codes that can be used on any book to convert it into a talking book. When the reading device is pointed on these codes, an audio file is activated. We can listen to the corresponding text while reading, solving the problem of conflict in codes. Just like EAN codes, bar codes are issued by GS1, ISBN numbers are issued by Raja Ram Mohan Roy National Agency. It is also proven effective for specially able children, supports classroom teaching, gives equality amongst all age groups and economic status of the society. This advancement will create holistic development of books, aiming to achieve inclusive education.
Apart from the already mentioned areas, management and system departments, BIS is also working in many new emerging areas. Let's hear from the head of the department.
Based on present scenario and future expectations, MSTC has identified various areas for standardization. Risk management is one of the important areas. Keeping in view the importance and need for risk management in every sector, BIS envisaged that there is a need to formulate standard on maturity framework for risk management, cyber resilience. BIS is also preparing a standard on cyber resilience. This is different from cybersecurity and will focus on management of change. Both these standards will be prepared and taken up at international level also. Conditions of labor working in the bricklayer industry. As we know that bricklayer industry is highly unorganized sector and lot of migrant labor and children are engaged in this sector and their socio-economic condition is very poor. To improve their condition, we are preparing a standard for the same in association with Ministry of Labor. We are also in the process of revising Indian standard IS 15700, which is on quality management system requirements for public service delivery organization. This standard is being implemented since 2005 and now there is a need to assess the organization based on their level of maturity. Some new parameters will be added to assess organization on their maturity level. Life cycle costing. BIS has published a series of standards on the same, covering methodology and terminology. Now we are preparing a third part in the series, which will help organizations to make their procurement decisions based on life cycle costing and not only on the initial cost. India is actively participating at international level also. India's proposal to prepare an international standard on governance maturity model for organization has been approved and soon we will start working on it. India is taking leadership position also at the international level. Experts of MSDC are leading standardization work at international level for revision of standards on security in supply chain and Shuhart control charts.
For further details and list of standards published, you may visit Standardization portal on BIS website www.manakonline.in. All the indigenous standards are freely downloadable. Anybody can post their comments on these standards using their login credentials. If you wish to become a member of any technical committee and extend your valuable contribution to this national standardization effort, you may reach BIS website www.manakonline.in and submit your request on Standardization portal, as it is everybody's contribution.